Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink.
I got you.
Let's go.
And welcome everybody to another edition here of the Men of Steel podcast. So of course, here's truly Charles Prodigy Richey as we're returning here tonight. Sorry for the misinformation yesterday. I had a lot of stuff to catch up on, but we are back and getting ready to kick things off right now. Some NFL league-wide news, just official recap what happened in the last week. We got some power rankings going on. Plus, find out how the Steelers are looking so far in MiniCamp right now on this special edition here of the Men of Steel podcast. I'm going to try and do an hour here. But anyway, once again, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can definitely do so. You can hit me up on Twitter at Men of Steel CJR, the Men of Steel podcast, and on Instagram at Men of Steel Nation. A lot of stuff to get looking forward to right now. Let's find out where the Steelers rank so far. How do they look so far? I mean, to be honest, Jeff, I mean, since post-draft, I still feel like they didn't do enough to address the offensive line, defense. I mean, you would expect a little optimism to get back on track. But as far as like run stopping, I'm not so sure right now. We're going to find out a lot more in just a matter of time. But anyway, let's go ahead and kick it off right now with one of the latest news that was reported out there a couple days ago. One of the star quarterbacks who's actually retired, Drew Brees, by the way, if you may recall, he retired at the conclusion of the 2020 season during the pandemic, which was the final snap where he lost to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. He is currently 43 years old right now, and there's a possible speculation that he might actually think about, hinting at coming back in the NFL. And of course, that's just according to the Saints head coach Dennis Allen right there. But when you think about it too, I mean, like a guy like Drew Brees, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, whose name is pretty solid right now. I mean, in the NFL. I mean, he's been an analyst with NBC Sports when you look at it. And to be honest, I'm not so sure, I mean, if he really needs to come back at all, to be honest. And for his time, we'll see. I just don't know if it's a good idea. Like, where does he actually feel like he needs to actually come back and try and do stuff right now? But I tell you what, in the meantime, I think right now what he has to be feeling right now is that, I mean, he obviously misses the game. His status with NBC Sports right now is up in the air. So I would really like to see, I mean, what kind of a mindset, I mean, he would do. I mean, like, what would he really do to come back for the NFL? I mean, seriously. I mean, you got the New Orleans Saints possibly right now with Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback. I mean, on the depth chart. And you still got Taysom Hill hanging around. So I'd be really interested to see, like, what would they really do, I mean, for this year? I mean, to be honest, I mean, listen, the Saints still have a real good defensive team. Still have a winning record without Drew Brees. I mean, that's a brilliance part of Sean Payton. But still, I have a little bit of suspect. I mean, like, why would you need to come back, I mean, at this moment in time? I'm just not so sure if it's a good idea right now. But to be honest with you, I mean, we'll find out. I mean, what do you guys think of this whole situation right now? Drew Brees possibly coming back in the NFL? Like it? I mean, opposed? To be honest, I'm not sure if I'll be interested. I think we saw the best that Drew Brees had to offer at the end of the day. I mean, he obviously still loves to play. But at the end of the day, too, I think there's still a very desire how close he got. I mean, when you think about it, about 3 years ago, where his team pretty much got robbed in his eyes. And let's see. I'm not so sure about this right now. I mean, to be honest, I really feel like what needs to happen right now is that it really needs to come to like a meeting of the minds right now, where we look at it, and I just really feel like he's still got that burning desire. I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to try and make a comeback. You gotta keep in mind one thing too. I mean, as much the NFL these days, when you're trying to take into the factor too, what's still about player safety. I mean, you look at a guy like Tom Brady. I mean, who's a workout nut, as well, I mean, doing it insanely. I mean, in his 23rd season, 23 seasons. I mean, he's had a goal to come back. I mean, to play up until age 45 years old, and I'm just not so sure right now. Like, what will be like the need for this? I mean, you look at a guy right now. I mean, who's done a lot in this game. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, quarterbacks in their 40s. I mean, the oldest one to date, I mean, is George Blanda right there, who quarterback for multiple teams: the Bears, the Colts, the Oilers, and the Raiders. When you think about it, I mean, this guy right here, I mean, Blanda, I mean, was definitely a phenomenal guy right here. I mean, Blanda, I mean, he played almost forever. I mean, he didn't start dwindling down. I mean, his starting days, I mean, he played for 27 seasons. Okay, just think about that. 27 seasons. And around his time where his starting days were up, came probably about after like 1965. And that was with the Oilers in the AFL. Before becoming a backup quarterback, notably with the Raiders, silver and black right there, under John Madden. Well, I mean, if you ask me again, I think, let me say this. I wouldn't be too terribly upset. I mean, if he did decide to come back, Drew Brees. But like I said, like the point I'm trying to make with a supposed guy like Tom Brady, you understand one thing. It's not just about staying healthy, but it's also his IQ and his wit. The way he pulls out all stops. I mean, for this. I mean, and that's the thing right there we got to look at. I mean, it's the drive, I mean, the desire, the way he, I mean, leads a team. I mean, his instinct. I mean, Drew Brees, I mean, could still quarterback even if he did want to come out of retirement. But there's a different, I mean, Brady clearly is a whole nother stratosphere. The ultimate competitor. I mean, the best to ever play this position. I mean, Tom Brady right now, he is going to be definitely the second oldest quarterback to date behind Atlanta. He hung it up at the age of 48. Brady is 45, and that's not even guaranteed if this is going to be his last year or not. But I do believe, I would like to believe that this might be his last hurrah this year, Brady. I mean, working with head coach Todd Bowles, I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers seem to be sitting in a nice catbird seat in this offseason. I still question the move of Bruce Arians going in the front office and Todd Bowles being the head coach. I mean, listen, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we all know about Bruce Arians' character right there. He likes to establish a culture, a diversity organization, loves giving opportunities. It's a beautiful thing what he's doing for Todd Bowles. I mean, who really kind of has his legit decent run back in his rookie season as head coach with the New York Jets back in 2015. That was his only winning season. And ever since then, he fizzled out the next 3 years where he had losing records, no worse than 4-12. Back-to-back 5-11 seasons and 4-12 in 2018. 10-6, if you may remember, They were in control of that final wild card spot where they had to win and they were in. They ended up losing to the Bills, that weekend. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers took care of business against the Browns, to get into the playoffs. So the Jets were left hanging. And once again, that was another non-playoff appearance for a veteran receiver like Brandon Marshall. We're just getting started right here on the Metal Steel Podcast. Like I said, we are discussing right now league-wide news right now, basically in the NFL. And we're going to see actually right now what's going on here as we take a look at things right now. But I'd like to hear what's on your mind right now as we take a look at things going on right here on the Steel podcast here. Again, that's 3-1. You can definitely follow me again on Twitter at MassSteelCJR and on Instagram at MassSteelNation. And speaking of Tom Brady right now, what a nice career like he's got setting up. Still. And to be honest with you, I think this was definitely top Wayne Gretzky as an analyst on NHL on TNT for a guy post-playing career. You think about like what's going on in the broadcasting since like the groundbreaking news of Joe Buck getting a deal on ESPN Monday Night Football. Then, Troy Aikman first, then Joe Buck joining him. I'm very excited for this year of Monday Night Football with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition, to say the least. I haven't been this excited since they had, say, John Madden joined them back in 2002, right after the breakup of him and Pat Summerall, when Pat Summerall decided to retire. Even though he did come back a few times as a part-timer, but still, you look at the sub right now, basically going on everything right now. NFL and Fox right now, as they're getting their announcers right now, they're set to have Kevin Burkhardt being like the lead announcer on there going on. As we look at things right there. But Kevin Burkhardt right there, he's one of the guys who seems to be like the popular face on there, replacing it. And like I said, I think for right now, this year is going to definitely be exciting. Fox will have a new play-by-play of Kevin Burkhardt along with new color commentary. It's just a matter of figuring out who's that going to be. Was that going to be maybe Sean Payton or for right now, Greg Olsen? Greg Olsen, seems like he's going to be the guy joining him on Fox's NFL America's Game of the Week. But still, I'll be honest, Joe Buck, that's going to be a tough loss. I'm not sure how Fox is going to do. I think Fox, as a company, they're going to be okay. But to be honest, that is a huge blow right there for them ratings-wise, I think, going forward right there. As they continue to try and, pop up the brand, when you still got NFL and Fox Studio, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'll make a prediction. The day that NFL and Fox decides to come to an end, I think it would only be fitting that the same guys who you brought in the studio will go down with the ship. I'm talking about Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, Jimmy Johnson, more in particular. Those guys have definitely, I think it would only be fitting. I think it's going to be the end of Fox Sports. But to be honest, let's be honest. Until we hear Kevin Burkhardt on the air, I think Joe Buck did a phenomenal job of carrying the torch right there, being the flag bearer. The face of that company, especially when you look at the assets he's did as far as doing MLB on Fox. Just baseball coverage right there. it's just definitely not going to be the same. I mean, all things must come to an end. I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, Joe Buck, I mean, like leaving the network, I mean, probably, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to compare to like say Doc Emmerich stepping down from the NHL, who stepped down after the 2020 Stanley Cup finals right there. That was during the bubble with all sports returning back in September. I mean, I don't know if it's that fair, but I mean, still, I mean, Tom Brady, too, for the Spotrac right now, he's had a career earning of $333 million in 22 seasons. And Rupert Murdoch, who's been Fox since Fox Sports' exception, he acquired John Madden as their lead analyst in 1994, paying him $8 million, which is more than any player at the time. Not only did ESPN grab Aikman, but the face Fox Joe Buck, like I was saying a few moments ago. But like I said, I mean, Kevin Burkhardt and tight end Greg Olson, I'm not sure if that's going to take some time getting used to, be quite frankly. I'm sure we heard him like on other broadcasts, like the B Squad announcers. But I mean, right now too, Pro Football Talk also mentioned last week too that Fox took an issue with the reporting of Marshawn. What has been reported isn't an accurate description, and we have not released details beyond what was disclosed in our quarterly earnings, according to Fox corporate spokesman Brian Nick. Marshawn did point out that Nick didn't specify the inaccuracy, but 3 guesses don't seem to be needed, or 2. He writes that sources have reiterated the details he reported. The bigger point is that Murdoch-owned companies aren't on the same page about the dollars to be paid. Murdoch's newest employee eventually. I mean, again, the initial deal, I mean, right here that Marshawn was reporting of the New York Post was for 10 years at $375 million. Now, we'll wait to remain as that's seen. Gosh, I mean, either way, so, like I said, Tom Brady going Fox be like the equivalent of Wayne Gretzky as an analyst on TNT. Much better. And I think Gretzky, honestly, he is absolutely boring on NHL and TNT. I mean, he is a great icon and a dope for the NHL. But in all seriousness, too, I mean, when has Wayne Gretzky been like relevant, like hearing and like watching in the news media stream these days? I mean, his voice was probably more popular here from probably like over maybe like 15 years ago. I'll say a decade at the latest. I mean, to be honest, I mean, he hasn't really made much headway. I mean, since he's only been involved as a co-owner, a brief stint as a coach. And then, of course, I mean, like spotlight a few times whenever like the Winter Olympics will come. But I mean, still, I mean, he's definitely lost a lot of relevancy, if you ask me. I mean, Wayne Gretzky. I think Brady, I mean, just still, I mean, for a guy who just loves the game of football, I would not mind, I mean, hearing this guy like on here. I mean, the thing too, I mean, he is definitely relatable. I mean, Tom Brady, I mean, joined Fox too, which even adds a lot more intrigue too, is this. He's been allowing himself to open up more as of late, ever since leaving the New England Patriots. I mean, you can definitely see athletes from around the world, like little by little, I mean, really get comfortable with the guy from afar. I mean, you think of this guy as just like a genetic freak, which he is as a workaholic. But I mean, still, I mean, like his discipline, but still, I mean, he's definitely a lot more open up to it. And I don't know if everyone's got a chance to see yet. I've watched a little bit. I gotta finish up the series here. It's on ESPN Plus, the Tuck Rule that came out this past January. 20 years officially. And that was the first time that him and Charles Woodson actually got to sit down in a room and like chat, view the tape. I mean, that's cool right there. And the thing is, too, I mean, Brady, he is definitely more engaging. He's definitely letting a lot more people in his circle. I mean, to say the least. So we'll take a look at that. I want to hear what you guys think right now. I mean, what are you more excited for? I mean, like Tom Brady, I mean, joining Fox, or I mean, or are you guys still having hopes for Drew Brees coming back, making one more go at? I'll be honest, Drew Brees, your ship has sailed. I'm not saying he can't make one more good season out of it, but to be honest, I've seen enough. We squeezed, I mean, the water out of the sponge, if you ask me. Everything has been squeezed out as best it could. I mean, for his time right now. Again, you guys can follow me on social media. You can definitely follow me on Twitter at MetaSteelCJR and Instagram at MetaSteel Nations. We are streaming live right here on this special edition, 1 hour edition here of the MetaSteel podcast. So right now, as mentioned earlier, let's go ahead and get into NFL power rankings right now. Yes, and take a look at it right now. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers are concerned, I mean, you look at them. I mean, on the Athletic, they dropped 7 spots. They're 22nd on the Athletic. They went from 15 to 22nd. CBS Sports has them dropping down 4 spots from 17 to 21. And then NFL Network, too, has them remaining at the 21 spot. Now, this is coming out of like post free agency and the end of the draft so far, these power rankings. Just give everyone a heads up right now. And of course, on ESPN, you got the Steelers right now at 21st. So their average spot right now is about 21 right now. I mean, they haven't done enough to impress a lot of folks right now, if you ask me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I thought they had a decent, like, free agency period. I mean, trying to fill some gaps right now. But I mean, the biggest thing that's looming the Pittsburgh Steelers in the face right now is, I mean, clearly right now, I mean, with Ben Roethlisberger already hung it up at the end of this past season. I mean, he's definitely run off into the sunset. I mean, unfortunately, that was a Super Bowl ring, but I mean, he's out of the picture right now. You got Kevin Colbert. We should be anticipating maybe within a month or so, probably like no later than July, wanting to get like their new GM. I mean, Brandon Hunt is the recent one who just actually had a second interview with Brandon Hunt right now, pro scouting core there. That was announced today 4 hours ago. But I mean, when you look at it too, I mean, aside from that, the Steelers are AFC North competitors. I mean, as far as in the athletics power rankings, I mean, you look at it right now, Ravens and Browns each jumped up 7 spots. Ravens went from 17 to 10. Browns were 21 to 14. I mean, more in particular. And as far as like the defending AFC champions, since they Bengals, they dropped down 3 spots in the athletic rankings. They're 5th. CBS has them at 6. I mean, dropping 4 spots. 4th, according to NFL Network. And then 6th, according to ESPN. So, I mean, when you really think about it, too, I mean, the Bengals right now, I mean, they signed a few protection for Joe Burrow this season. But to be honest with you, I'm really starting to feel like right now, I mean, they're around like the 5th spot on average. I mean, with all these power rankings that came out the last week, ESPN just actually released theirs yesterday. But to be honest with you, I really start to feel like right now, I mean, people are looking at the Bengals as like last year was like a fluke, to be honest with you. I mean, don't forget though too. I mean, this team has done a good job maintaining a lot of players right there. I mean, signed some top guys. I mean, don't forget. I mean, you got Mike Hilton. I mean, over a year ago, who's going to be in his 2nd season with the Bengals right now. I mean, you got some decent, phenomenal talent on there. And of course, I mean, on the Bengals too. I mean, Joe Mixon. But to be honest, right now, I just feel like the Bengals right now, it's just still, I think people are waiting for them to come back down to earth. I don't dare say right now, I think they'll be one of the teams that missed the playoffs this year. I mean, there's still a little bit of unknown right now, too. I mean, even like the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, I mean, who's waiting to get his new quarterback deal. I mean, there's still hope that, who's going to be, for the most part, I mean, he is a guy who's wanting a new deal. I mean, he still has not been signed from what we could tell. I mean, a guy who's been drafted at the end of the first round in 2018. I mean, still, the Ravens right there, I mean, they still got their work cut out for them. I mean, for the most part. I mean, Lamar Jackson right now, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was hurt last year. I believe he had that ankle injury, but still, I mean, he's currently on his fifth-year option right now, set to be making a guaranteed base salary of over $23 million this year right now. And I don't know if right now with the Ravens, if it's just they're just having a meeting of the minds right now, starting to feel like right now, I mean, when you have this mobile quarterback position, what are the realities that start sinking in? I mean, is it that mobile quarterback, it just has its limits? Or is it still doable? I personally feel like, I mean, right now, too, I mean, when you look at, Lamar Jackson, what he's been able to do, I mean, who's been a league MVP, I mean, back in 2019, and what he's been able to do. I mean, he's only started 12 games. I mean, he has a winning record in all of his seasons right there. 84 touchdowns to 31 interceptions. The only problem is right now, what is starting to become noticeable, the sacks are starting to add up a little bit now. I mean, he's taken his career high 38 sacks last year, I mean, with the Ravens. I mean, despite having a winning record. And just like Ben Roethlisberger, too, he had career high in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives with 4 apiece. I just feel like right now with the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, you got to believe, I mean, they're a team that's looking to come right back on the come up, not to be ignored. I mean, to be honest, I mean, you look at some of the picks right there. I mean, what the Ravens did, I mean, in this year's draft, I mean, to say the least. I mean, of course, they're going to be without, like, Hollywood Brown, but still, I mean, they traded Marquise Brown to the Arizona Cardinals, and they received the Cardinals' 23rd pick. I mean, in there. But still, I mean, you look at right there. I mean, they got safety Kyle Hammond and center Tyler Linderbaum right there. I mean, so the Ravens, I mean, are pretty much, I mean, who's very well known for having a good offensive line draft. I mean, still, I mean, look at some of the other, I mean, pieces they get on here, too. I mean, they had, I mean, in this draft, 11 draft picks. I mean, you also got outside linebacker, too, David Ojabo. I mean, defensive tackle, I mean, Travis Jones, Daniel Faley, tackle out of Minnesota. I mean, still, I mean, they have pretty, I mean, damn good draft to be asked if you ask me. The only question is right now, I mean, what are you going to do right now? I mean, if you're the Ravens, how much, you're going to be expecting a guy on the receiving end, I mean, for this year. And Mark Andrews, who actually led the team last year with 1,361 yards, 9 touchdowns. There's going to be a lot more work on him. I mean, behind him was, of course, Marquise Brown. He's no longer with the Ravens. So, I mean, when you look at things right there, it's definitely going to be an interesting off season, as he was with Cardinals right there with Kyler Murray. remember, Kyler Murray was not a happy camper. I mean, after the devastating playoff loss they had against the Rams. I mean, he pretty much got thrown under the bus, if you ask me. But still, I mean, when you look at like the other teams right now, I mean, let's go to some of these other power rankings right now. I mean, teams that could be in danger, I mean, missing the playoffs. I mean, when you look at it. I mean, basically, like I said, I definitely feel like the Bengals could definitely be one addition, like not making the playoffs. But I would also like to think, like, too, like a team like the Raiders will have a dangerous stretch in December as they not only have to face 5 out of the 6 playoff teams with each winning records, they got to face the Chargers, the Rams on the road, and the Steelers on the road on Christmas Eve. And their home games are versus the Chargers, Patriots, Niners, and Chiefs. 5 out of 6 playoff teams. I mean, in that foul month, that's going to be a danger right there. I mean, you got a guy like Derek Carr right now, too, who's looking to, like, so the Raiders could still be legit. But I mean, the Chargers right now, too, you better damn sure believe right now, the Chargers who have been gaining some steam right now are coming up shy right now. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, they're looking to be the ones to probably make some competition and noise for SoFi Stadium. Seeing that the LA Rams have won the Super Bowl at right home, now, you gotta believe right now the Chargers right now they want to join that house. I mean, that Stan Kroenke has built right there with all his millions of dollars right there. I mean, still, I mean, you gotta come up with like some financial still, but even still, I mean, you look at right now the Rams right now. Rams are still in pretty good position, but the Chargers are definitely, I mean, making some noise right now. I mean, you look at like the Chargers right now. I mean, they all the power rankings that we've seen them universally across the board, with the exception of the NFL Network, they are 7th in power ranking. 7th. NFL Network is the only one that's got them as low as probably like 9th this year. I mean, and you got to believe right now, I mean, with the Chargers, I mean, who's going to be going in there this season? I mean, when you look at it, I mean, you got Justin Herbert right there. I mean, who's had a winning record finally for the first time, I mean, his career. And arguably has best stats. He threw for over 5,000 yards in his second season, 38 touchdowns, and 15 picks. He had a touchdown reception ratio the year before, but still, his touchdowns went up by 7. He only turned the ball over through the air 5 more times. I mean, and also, too, not far off from his QB rating. I will say this about a guy like Justin Herbert right there, too. I mean, just like Lamar Jackson, you got to be careful with the sacks. I mean, his first 2 seasons, he's already got taken down for 63 sacks total in the season. I mean, and you look at like what the Chargers have been able to do. I mean, as far as like, the NFL, I mean, draft, I mean, going in this year. I mean, Mel Kiper, who's doing a report card with everybody, he's giving the Chargers a B-. I mean, when you look at, I mean, they got some good. I mean, their first pick, I mean, 17th, they drafted guard Zion Johnson, Boston College. Very good pickup right there. They also got safety J.T. Woods, Baylor. So they drafted 2 guards in this year's draft. One in the first round, 17th overall. And then they got one late in the 6th round, 195th overall. They got Jamari Saylor, guard out of Georgia. So, I mean, but other than that, though, too, I mean, we look at this draft right here. I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's definitely stocked up, I mean, for the most part, on offense. Their 8 draft picks. I mean, and defense. I mean, it was a mix, but still, I think right now, I mean, the optimism is building from them right there. And you got the Chiefs right now, who a lot of people are probably thinking they could be a team that could be out of the playoffs. I don't think so just yet. I mean, the Chiefs, they also had to go up against 10 winning teams and 8 playoff teams, I mean, for this year. And I'm going to make the prediction right now. What's going to happen with the Chiefs? They're not going to win the AFC West, but I do feel like they'll get in as a wild card at 10-7. And I think they'll get in like probably at the 6th seed, in my opinion. I'm going to say the 6th seed. Not the last seed, but they'll get it at number 6 at 10-7 record in the wild card. I predict the Chargers will be the team that can take that division. Don't dismiss also, too, the Denver Broncos right now. But still, I mean, like the Chiefs, I mean, when you think about their schedule, too, I mean, let's take a look at it right there. I mean, they got a dangerous schedule coming, like, right off the gate. I mean, if you really think about it, too. I mean, look at this. You got to be on the road at Arizona. I think they should be able to handle that one. Next one's going to be a Thursday night game, so less than, like, 4 days later. You got to play at home versus Chargers. On the road against the Colts, I think that should be a winnable game right there. Colts, I mean, Frank Reich still has a good defense right there. And then they got to be on the road in Tampa, October 2nd. That'll be 10 days later after their bye. So, I mean, if you think, a week after the Colts game, excuse me. I mean, days later after the Spurs, they're going to be on the road in Indianapolis, and then on the road against Tampa versus Tom Brady and the Buccaneers right there. Super Bowl 55 rematch right there, minus Tyreek Hill. So we're going to see how that works out. Then they got to be at home Monday night against the Vegas Raiders. Then Sunday, October 16th against the Buffalo Bills, and at San Francisco at the end of October right there. Then they have their bye. I mean, that is going to be a dangerous match, I mean, right there. I think Patrick Mahomes right there. I mean, a lot of teams figure him out. Some people like to look at it like he is playing up to his personality. I mean, the legacy of Mahomes, where he makes these highlight reel passes right there, his elusiveness. But I still got to believe right now, too. I mean, the Chiefs did send a message what they could do, I mean, defensively right now. I mean, defensively, I think they're going to be, I mean, very well okay, if you ask me. I mean, for this season. Because, I mean, when you also look at it, too, I mean, what they got on defense, I mean, for the most part, I mean, still, I mean, it's going to suck without having Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, who is now with New Orleans Saints. That one's still a shock for me right there. But, I mean, you still look at, like, some of the other players they had on here. I mean, going into it. I mean, we'll find out. But I do believe right now, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, the Chiefs, I think they're going to be, I mean, just fine for right now. I would like to see how Clyde Edwards-Helaire does in his third year right now. I mean, coming out of LSU. But still, I think the Chiefs are going to be in a good spot. I mean, you still got Travis Kelce right there. And I would just like to see, I mean, and to be honest with you, too, I think it was just so much. I mean, how much was it like, I mean, for them last year, too, where they just had a great, I mean, defensive year that just really kind of anchored that team right there. I mean, especially when you think about having former Steel on there, too. I mean, coming in there, Melvin Ingram. Well, he only had one sack, but still, I mean, he was definitely pivotal against the Steelers when they played around Christmas weekend. But still, I feel like for right now, I think the Chiefs are going to be in a good spot. We'll see. But, I mean, for right there, too, I think they're going to go, I mean, 10-7. I'm going to say they're going to be one of the teams they'll be okay going into the playoffs. Play Super Bowl champion Rams, which by far they have the toughest schedule, 567. They'll be facing 10 winning and 8 playoff teams. Their home openers will be versus the Bills and NBC with 8:15 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. My prediction for the Rams, I think they're going to go 11-6. I think they're going to do just enough to get into the playoffs. I mean, they're a team right there who you could argue just as much as the Chiefs. Dangerous start right there, too. I mean, when you begin with the Buffalo Bills, then you got the Arizona Cardinals about less than 2 weeks later, and the San Francisco 49ers, both on the road on the 25th and the 3rd. Then you got host the Cowboys right there. So at least, I mean, 4 out of your first 6 games right out of the gate, and you'll be facing winning and playoff teams right there. I just feel like right there, I mean, the sledding right there, that could be really that could really be dangerous for them right there. I'll probably say, if anything, where they're going to be a little bit more put to the test, will probably be at the end of October, where they got to face the Niners on the road against Tampa, hosting the Cardinals, at New Orleans, at the Chiefs right there. That month of November is going to be a true, test for them. I got them going 11-6, for that year. I'm not predicting they'll win the Super Bowl again, but I do feel like right there, when you got Aaron Donald right there, of course you got Matt Stafford right there, Cooper Kupp, who's arguably one of the best receivers in the game today. You definitely got to believe they're going to be on a whole, they're going to be riding high and still taking care of business, but I think they'll come up just short, in that aspect. And like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers they're going to be open up with their 9th straight season on the road since 2015, when they'll be playing the Bengals at Paul Brown Stadium. And so let's get into that right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers, their schedule for this season, as I just mentioned, they're a team who's not getting a lot of love in the power rankings. They're in the high 20s right now. But when you look at their season right now, more in particular too, as we're taking a look at it, for this season, I got to play on the road against Cincinnati, home against the Patriots, on the road against Cleveland on September 22nd, and the Jets. So let's go ahead and break these down real quick. I'm going to give you my early outlook right now. I'm going to say, for right now, maybe 9-8 or 8-9 at the early outlook. So let's go ahead and break down some of these games right now. I'm going to give you my win-by-win prediction. This is not going to be my final win-loss prediction, but I'll give you my final win-loss prediction at the end of the preseason and when they make the roster cuts going into the regular season. So this is not final. This is just for right now. I'm staying 9-8, but let's go ahead and break down where the wins and losses be coming from. First 2 games, loss. On the road against Cincinnati, I still expect them to struggle a little bit against the Bengals right there, who's had their number. The last few years has been lighting them up offensively. And unfortunately, this year's draft, they did not do enough. You got to be a little bit better than that. To pretty much ignore secondary help. If you ask me, that's just unacceptable in my opinion. And to be honest, we'll see what happens here. DeMarvin Leo. That's really who you guys really possibly got legit on defense. Defense tackle, Texas A&M, a little bit undersized. Still got a good combine grade, 6.18. But I'm not so sure. Then you also got Mark Robinson right now, who's outside linebacker. I'll only miss. I'm not feeling real too comfortable with that when you look at it. So they're going to lose against the Bengals. Home opener against the Patriots. They're going to lose that. And I do anticipate Mitch Trubisky starting off the season. I was listening to Cook and Joe show, debating once again if we're going to have Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, unless if Kenny Pickett really lights it up in the preseason games and really shows that he can run away with that job. But I anticipate it to be Mitch Trubisky starting for right now. The thing is right now, they're giving Trubisky a lot of love, thinking that this is his job to lose right now. If you ask me. It's still an open competition, but they feel like, it's that he could beat out a rookie. And we'll find out about that. But anyway, getting back to the schedule. So I got him with a loss against the Bengals, loss against the Patriots, I mean, that could still be a better matchup team. I mean, there's some people who have some optimism for their home opener. I mean, their 22nd straight opener in Heinz Field. They're going to be on the road against the Browns in First Energy Stadium. Give me a loss in that one. I'm going to start them off 0-3. Then they'll get their first win against the Jets on October 2nd. That will be at Heinz Field. Then they're going to be facing on the road against the Buffalo Bills right there. Give me a loss in that one. Loss against the Bucks. But then at Miami and at Philadelphia, because right now, if you're keeping score right now, I'm at 1-6 to say the least. I mean, 1-5. Excuse me, 1-5. So, lost against the Bengals, lost against the Patriots, lost against the Browns, win against the Jets, lost against the Bills and Bucks. So that's 1-5. At Miami, that's gonna be a Sunday night game in Hard Rock Stadium. Give me a win on that one. I'll give them a break. We'll go 2-5. Against the Philadelphia Eagles, they haven't won there in a long time. They haven't won there since the 60s, to be exact. And they easily get murdered in Philadelphia. Not really the most friendliest of times. I mean, playing the Eagles there. I mean, who's definitely owning the Steelers right now at 47-29. And their last victory on the road there, to be exact, when they won in Philadelphia, came back in 1965. And this, of course, before Chuck Noll came in there, they won that game 20-14. They won that game by a touchdown. I mean, other than that, it's just dreadful, like I just mentioned. So I'm at 2-6 right now, so we're going to say that. So 2-6. They're going to be playing home against New Orleans Saints. Give me a win right there against Dallas Allen the Saints. So that'd be put at 3-6. Home against Bengals, Heinz Field. Give me 4-6. I think they'll split one of the games with Cincinnati. It'll be at home. On the road against the Colts on Monday Night Football. Give me a win on that one. So that put them at 5-6. On the road against Atlanta December 4th, 6-6. Home against the Ravens right there. Give me 7-6. On the road against Carolina Panthers. I'll say they win that one. So, I mean, 8-6. They'll lose against the Raiders on Christmas Eve. I think right there. That's gonna be an emotional game, but I'll probably give that one a loss right there. Put them at 8-7. 8-8 on the road against Baltimore, and then last but not least against Cleveland, with the home game that's to be determined. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. They'll get a win in that one, so I'm going 9-8 for right now, for this season. So 9-8 for this year. And like I said, they're gonna be having to face 9 winning teams, 6 playoff teams. I mean, for this year. And a lot of it, too, like I said, it's going to have to be right now. I really feel like right now, too, what's going to be really interesting to see how Brian Flores right now, who's be a linebackers coach for this team this year, I mean, how much is it that he's going to really help, like, get this team right back on the tracks? I really believe, like, you know, like him, like with Munchak, what he was with the offensive line back in, I forget what it was, like 2013, whatever it was. Let's take a look. I mean, who was a coach right now? He came over to the Pittsburgh Steelers beginning in 2014. He was only there for 5 seasons. So I think he's going to be like that type of impact as far as on the defense. They have to get back to forcing, like, taking the ball away. forced some turnovers, if you ask me. Let's go ahead and finish this off right now, too, as we looked at in the meanwhile, too. We also got like the numbers, too, for this year's Pittsburgh Steelers for his draft picks right now. We got their numbers announced, which was reported last week. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kenny Pickett, we already know he's going to be wearing number 8 this year. George Pickens, he's going to be wearing 52 for the wide receiver. For Marvin Leal, he's going to be having Antonio Brown's number, but on defense, as defense tackle, he's going to be wearing, Kenny Pickett number 8, George Pickens at 14, the Marvin Leal at 98 right there. As we take a look at this more. I mean, which is an interesting number right there. He's got old Casey Hampton's number right there. I think pretty neat right there if you think about that. I mean, it really must have some high thoughts about this guy, giving him 98. But, of course, Steelers have got a lot of numbers. Calvin Austin, he is going to be apparently the new Juju Smith-Schuster at number 19 this year. Hey, Hayward, Heath Miller's number at 83. Outside linebacker Mark Robinson at 93, and Chris Oladokun, the 4th quarterback on this roster right now, joining the likes of Trubisky, and Rudolph. Rudolph probably more than likely to be the odd man out. He is going to be having number 5 in this year. And when you look at it, those are the numbers right there. So once again, Kenny Pickett is going to be wearing number 8, George Pickens is number 14, Marvin Leal 98, Calvin Austin at 19. Hayward at 83, Mark Robinson at 93, and Chris Oladokun at number 5. And right now, I mean, last week the Steelers, they did sign offensive lineman Trent Scott to a 1-year deal. They did waive long snapper Rex Sonahara and linebacker Tigre Skills. They also signed a 2nd-round pick wide receiver George Pickens immediately after the first rookie camp. MiniCamp, a 4-year deal, which was estimated to be worth over $6.75 million after the Steelers used a 52nd overall pick on a former Georgia star. He started 4 out of 5 games down the stretch, having 5 catches for 107 yards, missing most of the season with a torn ACL he suffered in the spring, right around this time last year. But, I mean, he was definitely impactful down the stretch for the Georgia Bulldogs national championship run. The only thing is on George Pickens, they're saying he's expected to help offset the losses of Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, and Raymond McLeod. Juju Smith-Schuster, who was with the Chiefs, James Washington went over to the Cowboys, and Raymond McLeod with the Niners. I'm not so sure about that. It'll be interesting to see. But he said he worked through all the positional drills and showed no effects of that torn ACL, so which is pretty good right there. And just like Hines Ward, a Bulldog right there, I expect some great things out of him, but we'll see. The one guy, like I said, I'm excited for is Calvin Austin III right there, the fastest top 5 speed demon in the NFL Combine right here. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, that guy would be really excited for, see how he does. I imagine he's going to start in special teams. About 5'8", 5'9", he plays slot. It can cut outside as a wideout, but start him off at slot and special teams. And this past Monday, Brooke Pryor also mentioned the Steelers signed 4 players. Arizona Cardinals, Trevin Mason, South Carolina quarterback, Carlins Platel, Wake Forest kicker, Nick Skiebel, and East Carolina receiver Tyler Snead. To make room on the roster, the Steelers have waived Rico Bussey, wide receiver Rico Bussey, kicker Sam Sloman. They terminated veteran linebacker John Simon, waived and injured defense back Bryce Watts. So, like I said, let's go ahead and get into like the Steelers GM candidacies right now, just to wrap things up here. Doug Whaley, right now, I mean, he was definitely the 3rd candidate to receive a 2nd interview for the GM vacancy. Of course, now Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt right now. And to be honest with you, too, both interestingly enough, though, too, Khan, he's completed an interview with the Bears and Bills as assistant GM also did Brad Hunt. Now, Whaley, an interesting one, too. He is a native Upper St. Clair, played collegiately at Pittsburgh before joining the Steelers scouting department in 1999 under Tom Donahoe. He remained with the Steelers at October, was hired in 2000, staying with the team until being hired assistant general manager of the Bills in 2010, eventually moving to GM in 2013. And, Kevin Colbert is hoping to have like a similar role to like what Bill Nunn did, being somewhat of an assistant, like in some sort of role, with the team, even though he may not be there in day-to-day operations, but still, he's looking at it right now, where he can still be a valued asset in that candidate. But as far as Doug Whaley, I'd have to pass on him. I'm not so sure about him. Don't get me wrong, he just has some very good ideas and thoughts as far as like what the Steelers should be doing, like with guaranteed money gain on the program. But this is a guy right here. With his stint in Buffalo, he's had all losing seasons, with the exception of one, which was back in 2014, where the Bills went 9-7 right there. Did not make the playoffs. I'm not sure if I would want him. But some other guys here on this list though too that get it interesting right now too. We heard about Andy Weil right now, who's been having a 24-year career, who assisted to like Tom Donahoe back at the end of the Towers run. But he is more notable too for being around with the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens back in 2012, director of football admins right there, where they finished out the year 10-6, winning the Super Bowl that year, Ray Lewis's final year right there. He'd be an interesting candidate. And then, to be honest with you, too, some other guys you look at right here, Louis Riddick, he's going to be staying on with ESPN, so his name is out of the pitch right there. I would imagine what's going to happen right now, too. You also got John Spytek, who's currently with the Buccaneers right there. No stranger to developing Super Bowls. He has 2 on his resume as a national scout with the Broncos back in 2015, and of course, director and vice president player personnel with the Bucs back in 2020. Still with the Bucs right now, looking to advance as a GM. He's another good candidate, but I'll be honest right now. When you look at the candidates right here on this list, and I know they haven't been, they've been taking their time, but I just think it's going to come down to probably Brandon Hunt, in my opinion. I'm not sure about Omar Khan. It's interesting. Omar Khan has been here, ridiculously for a long time. He's been here since, 2001? 21 seasons right there. Who's done a phenomenal job with making good contract deals, but as far as being the push for GM, I'm not so sure. But like I said, that's be my prediction right there. I think the Steelers will keep it in-house right now. I'm going to say Brandon Hunt's going to be the guy, and that's going to do it for this 1-hour edition here of the Mass Steel podcast. I want to say thank you to those of you for tuning in. Brian Diarra, I have not forgotten about you. Sorry, my man. I will stay in touch. I promise. But other than that, feel free to keep it here. I'll try and keep up, try to do something at least once a week right now during the off season. We'll be heating up again once it gets closer to like MiniCamp and preseason. I'll try to go back to a 2-day-a-week schedule on Mondays and Wednesdays. Schedule's just definitely been crazy, but I want to just thank for all the followers right there, and for all people still checking me out on social media and following the Pittsburgh Steelers as we like to do. So always leave it. I'll be trolling, be rolling. Here we go. I going.